He's one of America's favorite singer-songwriters. With 4 albums and 6 Grammys under his belt, John Legend is still taking the music world by storm. Now, he's trying to wake up the world with his new album and awareness of our ailing school systems. I was thinking about the first time I actually saw you perform. It was about 12 years ago in a small club in Philadelphia called the Black Lily. And I was thinking about the journey from going from being in a small venue like that to being a 6-time Grammy Award winner, being Time Magazine's most influential. How does that happen? What's that journey been like?
I've been a musician since I was a kid. I've wanted to be a star since I was a kid, but I think I started making real concrete moves in that direction while I was in school at Penn. And I met a few people along the way that really helped me. I met Kanye in 2001. And he was very instrumental, obviously, in launching me. He signed me to his label. But before he even signed me, he brought me in on a lot of the work that he was doing. So he was working on The College Dropout. He was working on Alicia Keys' You Don't Know My Name, Encore by Jay-Z, all these tracks. And he would bring me in to sing background, to play piano, to co-write, and all this. And he really helped kind of put me out there so that a lot more people in the music community knew who I was. And so through Getting Out Our Dreams, his label, I signed to Columbia in May of 2004. And that came after, you know, years of knocking on doors, years of performing live shows in New York, Philly, all up and down the Eastern Seaboard, and just trying to build a buzz and build some energy, meeting some great people along the way, collaborating with some great people along the way, and getting told no. And you know, we just had to keep persisting and believing in the artistic vision, and eventually we found a home at Columbia, and my first album, Get Lifted, came out in December of '04.
Talk to me a little bit about this new album, Wake Up. Like you said, it's a very soulful album, but it's also an album that requires you to really dig in the crates. I mean, some of the stuff I know, you know, Wake Up and all that stuff, but then I heard like Baby Huey and the Babysitter, you know, stuff that, you know, it might be a grandmama's basement. What was that? What was that process like?
This new album with the Roots, Wake Up, is my most soulful, is my most organic, and most dirty and raw and gritty.
The world won't get no better if we just let it be.
When I originally came to Questlove, one of his missions was to make sure we didn't do the super standard, everybody knows these songs, everybody's heard these songs, and all they're going to think of is the original when you do them.
Right.
We didn't want to do that. We wanted to do something a little different. We wanted to kind of really dig in the crates, really uncover for a lot of people, rediscover for some people, some songs that may have been overlooked. So again, I think we uncovered a lot of classics and rediscovered them for a new generation.
And I think this idea of bringing generations together is powerful, and it really speaks to the political moment, because you were very active in the Obama campaign, you were very active in the '08 election in general, as a powerful voice around politics. What motivates you to do that? I mean, some people, you know, will do one, you know, public service announcement, but you're really out there. What makes you so engaged in politics?
Well, maybe I'm naive, but I just really believe that these things matter. These things actually affect people's lives. The decisions that are made in Washington, the decisions that are made in these political arenas. And so I feel like I'm not going to waste my position. I'm not going to waste this opportunity I have with influence and resources. I'm not going to waste it by not speaking out, by not saying something.
Since you're no stranger to speaking out and saying something, let's think about these last 2 years as someone who's been an activist and a voice for the public. How would you gauge the last 2 years?
There are a lot of people that are just upset and frustrated because, you know, things haven't gotten better yet. They've gotten a little bit better, but not dramatically better. And I think a lot of that is blamed on Obama because of expecting too much from the power of the president to make change quickly. And if you look at his legislative record, he's gotten a lot done that most presidents would envy. If you told them in their first 18 months they would pass health care, a serious financial reform bill, serious education reform would begin, $800 billion stimulus plan to put more people back to work, which I think saved a lot of jobs, but that just means it would have been much worse if they didn't do it. So all these things happen in 18 months, which I think is remarkable, but it's still not enough to make it turn around in 18 months. I joked the other day that maybe people really believe that whole Barack the Magic Negro thing. They thought he was just going to come in and wave his wand, and it was all going to change right away. And it's just going to take time.
one of the big issues I think that everybody agrees is a problem, but may have different approaches to solving, is the education piece. And you have been front and center on this conversation about education.
When we look at these education debates, there's a lot that's going on in the conversation, but I think what is clear is there are some models out there that are working really well.
Yeah.
And they're working in places where people didn't believe they could work before. I think people, they might have not said it, but they had a sense that a poor black kid just was not going to do well, period. And we might as well give up.
Well, you come from one of those places, right? I mean, you're from Springfield.
Well, I came from a working class neighborhood. It was a mixed neighborhood. It was a working class neighborhood. My father was a factory worker. I went to some public school. I went to 2 years of private school, and I was homeschooled actually a few years as well. But I come from a city where between 40 and 50% of our kids drop out of high school. We are considered a dropout factory in my high school, which I did well in and went to an Ivy League school, but I was the exception, not the rule. And there's so many kids around the country that are in that same. We need to do more to make sure every kid has a quality education. And too often I think we end up blaming the students themselves, or we blame their parents, when their parents were in the same system 20 years ago, and we're expecting different results, but we're not changing the system.
Now, what you're proposing is powerful and it's insightful, but it places you right in the middle of a debate. Some people on the left won't like it, some people on the right won't like it. As an artist, how do you navigate that?
My thing is, let's argue on the merits of the argument, and let's argue about what's best for these students. Because a lot of times we care more about what's happening with the adults than we care about the students. And I think that's one of the powers of this film I'm a part of, Waiting for Superman. I wrote the end title song for this film, which is also on the album. It's called Shine.
Let 'em shine. Let 'em shine on.
And in the film, they follow the kids and their parents, and you get to know them. And you realize these kids, a lot of times we blame their families, we blame their kids, we say, they don't want a better life. That's absurd to begin with.
Right.
And once you humanize these young people, I think a lot of times our kids are dehumanized. They're not seen as people with potential and with optimism and possibility. But when you see them in this film, they're so humanized that you can't help but say, well, these are our kids. We need to do what we can to fix this system for our kids. It's an emotional film. It makes you cry. It makes you empathize with their families. And hopefully it makes you leave there a little bit angry that our system has allowed this to happen. And hopefully we'll hold our politicians, our leaders, our schools accountable for making real change on behalf of these kids.